All right. Good evening, baseball fans. This is the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast on the Grid Network. I'm Mike Guido. That's Dalton Brown. I apologize in advance for my low energy and scratchy, nasally sort of voice. I am under the weather and, would do anything to be curled up in a ball right now in my own bedroom. But we have plenty of baseball to talk about, so that's why we are here. Dalton, how are you feeling on this Monday evening, my friend?
Better than I felt last Monday, certainly. I think we'll get to the Dodgers in a minute, but they've certainly put me in a better mood. And football season's back. Weather is hopefully going to start cooling down soon.
Yeah.
So a lot to look forward to. It's a great time of year.
Yeah, great time of year. Absolutely. The golf weather is fantastic. I was able to play 18 this past Saturday. It was great. Really, really great. In like a nice high 60s, low 70s sort of breezy. Yeah. That's where it's at right there. So like I said, we do have a lot on the docket today. Obviously we cater to our own fan bases. That's how we start the show. Dalton, the Mariners have won 9 in a row and are now in first place in the AL West. I mean, we were having conversations about them potentially not even making the postseason, but now they are in a position where they look good and they're getting hot at just the right time. Can they finish the job? Can they get the job done? How have they gone on this run? We'll talk about that as well today. Is it panic time for the New York Mets? Things have been going very, very poorly for them as of late. They're a game and a half right now ahead in the wild card over the Giants for that last playoff spot. And they have not been playing good baseball. So is it panic time in Queens for the Mets? And it does not finish out easy for the Mets either. We'll talk about that as well as we go on a little bit later. And then obviously Dalton's Hot Corner at the end of the show, put a little bit more money in your pocket. But as we do, and again, appreciate everybody in the comment section. Paul Schwartzoff, frequent listener. Well, Mike playing the Twins will hopefully be good medicine for you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tristan Reyes back in the comment section. Guards control their destiny. Do they? I don't know. They went out. They win the division. Listen, man. Let's just get into our rants here. Excuse me. I told you this was going to happen. Dalton, you are the defending champs. Dodgers, Yankees. How do we feel? Do we feel better than you said it earlier, but better today than last week?
Yeah. So since we last were on air, the Dodgers they went 5-1 last week. They needed to handle business against Colorado, and they did. So we're grateful for that. Handling business against Colorado means nothing short of sweeping them. And then this weekend was a tricky outlook because you're going up to San Francisco to play a hot Giants team if you're the Dodgers, and the Padres are hosting a 4-game set with those same Rockies. So, certainly going into this weekend, the Dodgers needed to play well, and they continued to play well. Friday night, you give up a walk-off grand slam. I don't know why we couldn't hit Verlander. Had we lost another game, Friday night's game would still be infuriating me. But the Dodgers came out and hit the cover off the ball both Saturday and Sunday, scoring double-digit runs 2 games in a row. Dodgers haven't scored double-digit runs in a long time. And these were their best offensive showings since basically June. So it seems like the offense is finally back where it needs to be. Will Smith on the injured list, but it shouldn't be anything long-term. It's good to have Max Muncy back. Mookie Betts winning National League Player of the Week is not something that we could have really imagined a month and a half ago. So, and then the starting pitching. I mean, the last 2 times through the rotation, the starting pitching has been insane. I mean, I think we had 3 no-hitters taken into the 6th inning or later in the last like 10 days.
Wow.
They're starting to look like that Death Star rotation that people thought they were going to be preseason. So, good week. Finally, a good week where we looked the way we thought we should, but it doesn't get easier right now. I mean, that whole easy schedule that I talked about for the Dodgers, they stumbled through a lot of that, and the rest of the way, it's
not simple.
Easy.
Right.
It's 2 weeks, but you've got Philly coming into town this week. That's a massive series for the Dodgers. While that's going on, the Padres will be playing the Mets, which we'll talk about. We'll talk more about that series in a little bit.
Yep.
Then the Dodgers play San Francisco again this weekend. That's a San Francisco team that still very much believes they're playing for something. And then Arizona on the road. They're at least, middling. And then you finish the season in Seattle against a Mariners team we're about to talk about that's really red hot and is probably going to have quite a bit to play for as well that weekend. So the Dodgers are going to have to earn it. Luckily, they have a 2.5, technically 3-game cushion on the Padres because they won the season series. And I'm really glad they do because it was not going to be easy down the stretch, but they seem to be rounding into better form.
Now, do you think that there's a because this has always been my line of thinking when it comes to the Dodgers. Do you think that now that the Dodgers have, and I don't want to say it's fixed, right? Because I don't think 1 week fixes all of your problems, right? But now that they've kind of gotten back to the taste of what good baseball looks like again, like a lot of people say going into the postseason is just a full-blown reset, new season, brand new, doesn't matter. Obviously, them getting into a solid seeding position matters, but if they can get into the postseason playing at least decent baseball, not even just catching full stride, but playing decent baseball, do you feel comfortable enough in that heading into the postseason with this team?
I mean, there's never comfort in the postseason in baseball.
Well, yeah, but
it's by design the most random thing in sports. So no, I'm not going to feel comfortable. But to answer your question more directly regarding how I feel about the Dodgers state, I think they're definitely trending in the direction I want them to be trending in.
Mm-hmm.
My primary concern has gone from, our ability to pitch and hit on the same night and to just not be a mess to our bullpen. Blake Trinan has not been himself. Tanner Scott has had just a horrendous season. It's a really deep bullpen talent-wise. I'm interested to see who moves into it when we get into the postseason. It is worth noting that I don't expect Shohei Ohtani to move into the bullpen because that doesn't jive with the DH rule being the way it is. Mm-hmm. He's going to need to either start games or not pitch. So I think he will be a starter in the postseason. The interesting thing for the Dodgers right now, pitching wise, you've got basically 6 starters that have all been throwing the ball really well. Mm-hmm. And that's a luxury. You've got Yamamoto, Glasnow, Snell, Ohtani, Kershaw, and Sheehan. All of them, I think, would get a postseason start for any other team in the league. All of them. Mm-hmm. I think 2 of them are not going to get postseason starts for the Dodgers. Now, if it's me, I would be moving Clayton Kershaw and Emmett Sheehan to the bullpen.
Yeah.
And giving them both kind of lanes to pitch in maybe after an Ohtani start, right? Because we're still not really throwing Ohtani out there for 6-7 innings.
Yeah.
So I would maybe piggyback one of them off of Ohtani, let Ohtani go 3 or 4, bounce to the other guy. And then the other one I would use as a leverage reliever and just see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because that's where we need the most help right now. But to answer your question directly, I feel a lot better about the Dodgers now than I did a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But they're so far from out of the woods, and 1 week of baseball is 1 week of baseball.
Sure. No, that's certainly true. They have a tough matchup tonight. Ranger Suarez. It's in Dodger Stadium, but Ranger Suarez going up against them tonight at Dodger Stadium for that series with the Phillies. That is not going to be an easy series. The like I said, that's been my whole line of thinking with them is that if they can just not coast is the wrong word, but more or less just get into a position where you're heading into the postseason, not playing like shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then I start feeling really confident about the Dodgers again. And I still really do. Like, I still think just from a talent perspective, like they outclass everybody. I think that will eventually prevail for them. But again, we'll see. You're 100% right. The postseason is the most unpredictable thing in sports. It's by design in that way. I want to point out something, by the way, before we go to the Yankees. Tristan Reyes might be my favorite commenter of all time, simply because he is recognizing my beard as a beard, which I viciously do not. This patchy, gross, whatever this is not a bit. It's very puby to me. Like, I don't feel confident in this beard at all. So I appreciate him saying that it's going to be the Beard Coastal Baseball Podcast, because I've actually never seen Dalton's face without a beard. But
yeah, my wife forbids it.
I've always known him as a guy with a thick beard. So, you know, I even though Tristan says so, I do not put our beards in the same class. I wouldn't offend you in such a way.
I wouldn't be offended. Honestly, I would love to shave my beard off every once in a while, but my wife is very serious about it. She's like, "No, you will keep your beard." I'm like, "Okay."
What is with that, by the way?
I don't know.
I don't understand. My wife is the same way. Like again, this is not defensible. So like when I shave my face, it doesn't matter. But like the fascination with the attraction that women have to men with beards is just like that. It wasn't always that way, but it is now. Like, I don't know.
I can't speak to it at all.
I don't know, man. It's crazy, but it hides some of the ugliness, I think, from men, certain men. Anyway, let's go to the Yankees. So Yankees are doing okay right now. Again, it is not smooth sailing. They got really kind of pummeled by the Tigers early in that series. And the Tigers are good, and obviously that was very humbling in that respect. I think the Tigers are a better team, honestly. Like that's kind of the way that I feel right now, is that I think the Tigers are a better baseball team. So that the fact that they got clobbered, I'm glad that they were able to salvage one game of that series the way that they did, falling just short of beating the Red Sox sweeping the Red Sox in Fenway. The Red Sox have been, as you put it graciously, by the way, they've kind of been the boogeyman of the Yankees this season. So the fact that you're able to take 2 out of 3 in their building, and then you lose 6-4 on Garrett Crochet Day, like I think I'm okay with that. Like, I think I feel okay. They went 3-3 this week. That was the minimum, I think, for me. If you lost 2 out of 3 to the Tigers, took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox, I think I felt okay. At this point, and again, the Yankees' schedule is super easy the rest of the way. 3 at the Twins. We talked about it at length before. 3, excuse me, in Minnesota. 4 at Baltimore. 3 at home against the White Sox, and then 3 more at home against Baltimore to close the season. So they have cake the rest of the way. Even with that, though, I think the division is probably out of reach at this point. They're 4 games back. Like, I just don't know that that's an obtainable goal anymore. But if they can have themselves in the first wild card spot, which they're probably going to end up playing the Red Sox, I'd rather have those games at Yankee Stadium than at Fenway. So I feel pretty good about that. I think I have the same sort of concern that you do, Dalton, in the fact that the Yankees, from a talent perspective, I think are very deep in the bullpen. And I just want to see those guys figure it out, right? Like, David Bednar has really kind of emerged as the reliable man in the back of the bullpen. And I can appreciate that he's kind of taken the closer role and held on to it. But we just need to get some sort of consistency out of the guys like Devin Williams and Luke Weaver and Camilo Doval and like Fernando Cruz. Like, those are all guys that have back end of the bullpen type of stuff, but it's been so roller coaster throughout the entire season some of it due to injury and some of it not. But it's just been such a rocky road for their bullpen. The Yankees are going to hit, I think, as well as anybody in the postseason. I don't have any doubt about that. Their problem has never been with scoring runs, finding ways to hit the ball out of the ballpark, right? It looks like finally the Yankees have put Jose Caballero ahead of Anthony Volpe on the depth chart, it looks like, which is again, I like Anthony Volpe, but it was time. It was just
Mike, what did you make of this injury thing that broke with him that it seemed like the Yankees were trying to keep secret?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my first reaction to that was, oh, that's convenient. But he's not on the IL, though. So it's,
right.
He's still available, but it certainly seems like they're trying to protect him in a way.
Yeah.
Just like from a vibes or just from an optics perspective, just saying like, hey, we're not really benching him because he sucks. We're benching him because he's been dealing with a little something. You know what I mean? Like
it's interesting though, because it's like, I feel like the Yankees communication around injuries and around like what they're doing with their personnel lately has been coy to a degree that feels strange.
Yeah.
Like it was the same thing with Aaron Judge not really being able to throw the ball into the infield and like them not really wanting to admit that. Like there's been a lot of like coyness with them that I find interesting.
Yeah. I wonder why that is in a lot of ways. The Yankees have certainly become a bit dysfunctional, and I don't really love that. But listen, they're in a position now where they're, I think, pretty firmly in a playoff spot. I feel pretty good about that. I'm still not overly confident, but if you can just get them to pitch, right? If their bullpen doesn't blow games, I think that they can have some success. So that's kind of how I feel right now. I think they're going to hit. It's a matter of, can their bullpen get outs? They've invested so much into trying to fix that bullpen. So if their bullpen can get outs and not blow games in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, then I think we're going to, because they'll get out to early leads. I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be able to do that. But again, we'll see what happens come playoff time. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're certainly in good shape to make the playoffs. And it's interesting to see, last week, speaking of the AL playoff picture in general, right? Last week we talked about whether that Mariners-Royals series was going to be interesting. And the Royals have fallen out of it. The Mariners have passed the Astros. Like, it's amazing how much has actually changed since we last spoke, really in both playoff fronts, but especially in the American League. But I agree with you. The Yankees are now safe. Also, Mike, just as a quick aside, because we don't have them on the docket here, the Blue Jays are looking pretty good to get the number 1 seed in the American League.
Yeah.
Like, I know with the Brewers, we've kind of been slow to buy in because we don't really buy into their offense. But when the offense produces the way theirs has been producing, we start to buy in eventually.
Right.
Where are you at as far as buying in on the Blue Jays? Getting to skip the wild card series, getting home field advantage all the way through the AL. I mean, what do you think of it? What do you make of it?
I'm still not bought into them as like a legit World Series contender. I mean, maybe I've got to get caught up a little bit, but I mean, I think as far as a seeding perspective is concerned, I think they can absolutely finish up top. I mean, they've got 7 left with the Rays. Yeah. Right. So that's a team that they could take advantage of. I mean, the Rays aren't a pushover, but they're clearly better than the Rays.
Yeah.
And they have a 4-gamer at the Rays starting today, and it's at Steinbrenner Field. So it's not like they're going to have any trouble with that ballpark or anything. So, yeah, I mean, listen, the way that I've put the Blue Jays for the past like month or maybe even 2 months to this point is the Blue Jays just don't seem to be losing in high volume right now. Like, they've been relatively consistent for most of the year. I just look at that roster and I look at what they are. Like, they're very similar to the Yankees in like they're going to hit the piss out of the baseball, but can they consistently get you out? Like, and I don't know. I don't know that if they certainly have the names to do that, but do they actually have the substance behind it? That's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I would still say, I still think I'm more confident in Detroit than I am in Toronto right now.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So,
I have concerns with Detroit, and it sounds weird to say, but I mean, after Scooble, I don't know, man. Jack Flaherty in a game 2. Do you end up with Charlie Morton having to eat innings? I have some I think in a short series they're a tough out, right? Because you're gonna have to face School potentially twice in 5 games. But I do wonder in a 7-game series if Detroit runs out of arms.
Maybe. I mean, Detroit also has the makings of a team that could run out of gas by if they make a deep run, they could run out of gas in their pitching department also, right? Because if they're asking Tarek Skubal to go 7 innings, 115 pitches every start because they want to, squeeze as much juice out of that lemon as possible, then, you know what I mean? Like, they might just be asking a lot of their arms to get outs in the postseason.
Yeah.
In that respect also. So, yeah, I mean, that certainly is something to be said as well. I still think the Astros are going to be there. I still think that, and we'll touch on the Mariners in a second. I still think the Mariners are going to be there too. But that's what I mean is, like, I don't look at the American League as just like I don't have a team in the American League where I just like feel so good about them. I just don't.
No, I agree.
Like, I just don't like that. Like, I think this is genuinely going to be like, if you're in, you have a shot. Like, it's not like where I look at the National League and I'm like, okay, like, I'm fairly confident that if the Mets make the postseason, I just don't think, like, I think the Mets are more happy to be there. You know what I mean? Because I think the Phillies are better, the Dodgers are better, and all, like, the Padres are better. The Brewers are better. Like, the Mets are not at the same level as those teams right now.
Yeah.
In the American League, I don't feel that way because I genuinely think it's on any given week sort of basis. The Red Sox could come into the postseason and be a miles better team than the Blue Jays. So, I don't know. That's how I feel about the AL right now. So, all right. Let me give you a score update before we head into the first topic. Yankees and Twins right now scoreless in the bottom of the third. In Minnesota, the Twins right now threatening with a runner on second, nobody out. Thanks, Minnesota. Appreciate that. Cubs right now with a 4-0 lead over Pittsburgh. That's in Pittsburgh. That's in the bottom of the sixth. Braves have a 6-1 lead over the Nationals in Washington. They're heading into the bottom of the sixth. The Rays right now with a 1-0 lead over Toronto. That's in the top of the fourth. That's at Steinbrenner Field. Orioles and White Sox tied at 1. A riveting game with tons of playoff implications between the Orioles and White Sox in the south side of Chicago. That's heading into the bottom of the third. They're tied at 1. Reds with a 3-1 lead over the Cardinals in St. Louis. That's in the bottom of the third. Astros 2-0 lead over Texas. That's in the bottom of the first. And then a couple West Coast games, Giants and Diamondbacks. That's a big series for San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Is that series in Arizona. Zach Gallen also going on the bump against San Francisco tonight. That's in Arizona. And then the Phillies and Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Ranger Suarez and Anthony Bonda on the bump for the Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, I think as an opener.
Right, as an opener.
Yeah.
But yep, that's what we have for scores. All right, let's move into the first topic of the evening. The Mariners right now with a 9-game win streak. They have been extremely hot. They now have first place in the AL West over the Astros. And that's no small feat. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, Dalton, a couple of weeks ago, where we were singing the praises of the Houston Astros and how much confidence we had in them. But let's talk about Seattle a little bit, because we've talked so much about how impressed we are with their pitching staff, how when you get into a postseason series, you're not going to want to play them because they just have so many hard-throwing, quality, legit, like top of the rotation starters like Gilbert and Castillo and Kirby and Brian Wu, and like it just feels like it never ends. And then they add bats at the deadline: Suarez, Naylor, guys like this. So they really fortified that lineup. Is this sustainable for the Mariners? How do we feel about them 2 weeks out from the postseason?
Yeah, so I mean, I think my feeling about them at the deadline was if they can get in and put themselves in a good position, like they have all like this to me, Mike, if I look at all the teams in the American League, I think the Mariners look like the most World Series contendery of them. Honestly. Like, and it's they you and I had a conversation last summer. I don't know if you remember. We were talking about how frustrating it must be for the Mariners to have the rotation that they have and just not be able to hit.
Yeah.
And every attempt that they made at addressing the bats just weren't working, right?
Yeah,
the acquisition of Jorge Polanco was a disaster last year.
Right, yeah.
Well, Jorge Polanco right now is on an extra base hit streak where he's doubled in 7 straight games. Josh Naylor is on fire. We all know what Cal Raleigh's doing. Julio Rodriguez is quietly putting together an unbelievable second half. They're hitting up and down the lineup. JP Crawford's having an all-star season, roughly, right? I mean, you look at something like Dominic Canzone with a 126 OPS plus, Jorge Polanco 134. Like, they've got guys that just seem to find a gear this year that they didn't last year, and they're hot at the right time. Now, look, they need to find a way to stay hot for 2 more weeks, right? But they're hot at a great time, and at this point, you have to imagine they're favored to finish this thing out and beat Houston out for the division, which, by the way, the Astros, Mike, not to veer this over to them, but you know, I didn't quite realize how poor of a season Jose Altuve's had.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal for them too.
It's massive.
I don't know, Mike. I mean, when I look at the Mariners, if they let's say they get into the postseason and sneak in as the 3 seed, and they end up with a home series, right? A home 3-game series against, let's see, who would it be? Probably the Astros.
Yeah. They would play each other. Right. They would play each other.
They'd play the Astros. I like the Mariners pitching in that series. You know that ballpark's going to be going ballistic for those games.
Yeah, right.
And then they advance out and they'd play Detroit. I'd probably favor Seattle right now in that series.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I mean, the Mariners to me are a team that I want to buy stock in to win the World Series. And I don't think it's just because of their 9-game win streak. I think this is a team that, like, I've been kind of waiting to see it. Mm-hmm. And now that we're seeing it, it feels real. Now watch them fall apart over the next week, and next Monday, I'm like, wow, last Monday Dalton was dumb. But the other thing that's crazy too, I was looking through things today with regards to the streak that they're on.
Yeah.
Eugenio Suarez doesn't have a hit in like the last week.
He's been terrible for them.
He's been horrible, and it just doesn't matter.
I know. He really has been horrible for them.
Yeah. I mean, you figure if he starts putting it together too, like there's still more for this team to tap into.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to look now because now I have to see what his numbers are as a Mariner, just because like as a Diamondback early in the year, I mean, he was dominating.
I think he's OPSing like 80 as a Mariner, or OPS plus 80.
So his OPS plus is exactly that. It's 80.
Yeah.
His OPS is 633 as a Mariner in 41 games. That's not a small sample size.
No,
he's
not at all.
He's at 9 home runs as a Mariner, as opposed to 36 when he got traded from Arizona. So, yeah, they acquired him, and he's been a different player. He has a 0 WAR as a Mariner. He's been a replacement level player.
Yeah.
Which is shocking in that respect. Really is. Especially for a guy that's familiar in that environment. You know what I mean? He's not going to a new place. I mean, this is a spot where he's been before.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard for me to disagree with you. I mean, I think when you just look at the structure of what they've built, it does have this feeling of like it's finally coming together. They've been so good in their rotation for a number of years. And then last year, I mean, we bashed them over and over and over again because not only were they bad offensively, they were among the worst in baseball offensively. They were not below average. They were Colorado Rockies, Chicago White Sox bad offensively. They had a team OPS, I think it was below 700. Like, they were so bad in that respect. And they've turned the corner. They really have figured it out this year. Now, in respect, and maybe it's changed recently, but like, they've gotten a lot of really quality at-bats from Naylor, from Julio Rodriguez. Like, they've gotten really quality at-bats from those guys. Cal Raleigh's really struggled in the second half. He has not been near the same player that he was in the first half. I mean, he's still hitting home runs and everything like that, but he's striking out a lot more. So there's something to be said about that. But again, it's Cal Raleigh. I think he'll find a way to figure it out. And listen, the only thing that I would say the Astros have over Seattle is experience. Honestly, like that's the portion of it that I think is like, because you just talked about how by his standards, Jose Altuve is having not a very good year, right?
I would say by any standards.
I mean, his OPS is still 770 or something like that. So, you know,
I'm not sure it is anymore. I want to look that up.
Yeah. You know what? Let me take a gander too.
Because he's also, the other problem that they've had with Altuve is he's been like one of the worst
terrible
players. Yeah, his OPS is 770. So you're on the money with that. But just from like a value perspective, I mean, he's at less than one WAR.
He can't play second base anymore. Like,
no.
they've pretty much moved him exclusively as a DH.
Yeah. And that's a huge problem because you need Yordan in your lineup.
Right. Well, and that's forcing Yordan Alvarez to play the outfield every day.
Right. They don't want that.
I'm sure they don't want that. And especially if he's got to play in a spot where left field is more demanding than what the Crawford boxes get you in Houston. So, so there is that to be said, of course. But even just like I said, from an experience standpoint of guys that have had legitimate success in the postseason, right? Guys like Correa, guys like Jeremy Pena, Altuve. I mean, we understand what Altuve's been this year, but as a postseason player, Altuve's outstanding, right?
Yes.
There's a level of a different gear that he could reach. And even in that pitching staff, I mean, like Framber Valdez has pitched in a lot of big games. You know what I mean? Like, Christian Javier's pitched in a lot of big games. So, like, there's real something, there's real something to be said about, like, yes, the Mariners look like they are a better baseball team as playing better baseball. They look like they're better, more constructed. They're certainly younger, right? Like, this looks to be a legitimate, like, they have all the makings of what a team would look like to have success in a deep postseason run, but Houston's been there before. And I hate to kind of manify that a little bit, but I think there is sort of an element to that.
No, it's a real thing. And Houston has dominated them in their postseason matchup in the past too. It's just Houston has owned them when it matters.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I certainly look at the American League playoff picture, and you just try to think, okay, the Yankees, the Red Sox, Detroit has had so many pitchers go down. The Blue Jays, okay, they added Shane Bieber, and okay, their rotation is what it is with Gausman and Barrios and those guys, but the Mariners have the staff, they win that argument. So
yeah. I mean, this weekend, Mariners at Astros is going to be massive. Because one of these teams, I mean, they're at this point, in all likelihood, they're playing each other in the first round of the wild card, and I think home field could really end up mattering there.
Yeah,
and winning the division
that series could be the difference maker right there.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and from a Mariners perspective, Houston is playing the Rangers right now. They're up 2-0, right? They got the Rangers for 3. Then they host the Mariners this weekend. if Houston comes out of that Mariners series having taken 2 out of 3, and either they're tied or they're ahead of Seattle in the standings, Houston finishes at Las Vegas / Sacramento / Oakland and at Anaheim.
Right.
So they're going to have a lot of control down the stretch. While I'll have to look at Seattle's schedule, but I know they at least finish with the Dodgers.
They finish with the Dodgers. Yeah. It's not, well, okay. So they have 3 at Kansas City, 3 at the Astros. They go home to play the Rockies, and then they're home against the Dodgers.
That home series against the Rockies is going to carry. That's going to be really important for
them. Hold some weight. Yeah, they got to take care of business in that one.
Yeah,
but yeah, their schedule's not cake. I mean, the Royals are not. I don't know that the Royals are a postseason team anymore, but like they're legit.
No, yeah, they'll make a run at them. If let's say Seattle goes into this weekend with a 1-game lead, though, they're going to have a real chance to put that thing away. Like if they go into Houston and win 2 out of 3 and come out of there at that point with a 2-game lead, and then they get to host Colorado.
Yeah.
That means you're basically going into the final weekend of the season with a 2-game cushion or with 3 games left. The Astros, like that, I think that series is going to determine the AL West. I really do. I think whoever takes 2 out of 3 there wins the AL West.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, we could look back on this a week from now and have that judgment and just be like, look who came out ahead, and circle back to this conversation and be like, okay, this is where we are now. Again, Mariners right now with a 1-game lead over the Astros in the AL West. They've won 9 in a row. And can they keep that momentum heading into the final 2 weeks of the season? Let's switch over to the National League. The Mets, and no, that's not a me making fun of them chuckle. That's just, knowing what comes when, by the way, I feel like Metland has been fairly silent as of recently. Have you noticed?
Yeah. I mean, other than Frank the Tank screaming on Twitter, the Mets fans that early in the season very eagerly watched our show and jumped into the comment section to tell us why we were wrong about their pitching, they haven't had a whole lot to say lately.
No. I mean, listen, they lost 8 straight before they beat the Rangers yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, it has been an absolute plummet for the Mets. An absolute plummet. They, excuse me, and they don't have an easy schedule the rest of the way.
No.
They have, starting tomorrow, they have 3 at home against the Padres. Then they have 3 at home against the Nationals, which the Nationals are not good, but it's also a division opponent, right? Then you're in Chicago to play the Cubs, and then you're at Miami to close the season. And the Marlins have shown that they're not a pushover this season too. There was a point there was like, what was it, like a 2-month stretch where the Marlins were the best team in baseball. So it is not going to be easy for the Mets the rest of the way. And they now, we'll look at the standings here. The Mets are 77 and 73. They right now, as currently constituted, are a game and a half ahead of the Giants, 2 games ahead of the Diamondbacks, 2.5 games against the Reds, ahead of the Reds for the last wild card spot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is not comfortable in Metland right now.
No, not at all. Because look, and you look at the next couple nights, Michael King makes his return against the Mets tomorrow. Michael King is nasty. You and I have talked about that a lot.
I love him. Yep.
And then you follow it up with Nick Pivetta, who's also been excellent for the Padres, and what's sitting behind them in the Padres bullpen. So the Mets better, I mean, they better figure something out this week. Yep. Because if you lose 2 out of 3 here to the Padres, which I think has a pretty good chance of happening.
Yeah.
And the Giants take 2 out of 3 in Arizona, you're basically tied. And for the Mets, I get it. This weekend they play the Nationals, the Dodgers, the Giants play the Dodgers, but the Giants finish out pretty easy after that. I think the Giants finish their season. I know they finished their season with Colorado.
Yeah, let me look. The Giants' remaining schedule is 3 at the Diamondbacks, 4 at the Dodgers, and then their last week is home against the Cardinals, home against the Rockies.
Yeah. I mean, if you're the Mets, you better make hay this week. Like they need to hold serve against the Padres, at least not get swept. And then they need to sweep Washington this weekend, because otherwise, I mean, if you go into next week tied or only one game up on San Francisco might sweep that schedule. Like,
Yeah.
Cardinals are not the team they were the first half of the season.
No.
And we know what the Rockies are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, look, as a Dodger fan, I'm just going to be as blunt as I can be about it. This weekend is a weird one. Like, I obviously want to sweep the Giants because I want to secure our spot right atop the division.
Mm-hmm.
But I also really want the Giants to take the Mets spot, because as much as I think the Mets pitching is kind of a mess and I'm not a big believer in the Mets, like, in that 3-game wildcard series at Dodger Stadium, because that's what we're looking at this point, boy, oh boy, I'd rather play the Giants. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. Why do you say that?
The Giants don't intimidate me at all offensively.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have like the playoff pedigree or experience. Like, we've shown that Logan Webb is not much of an issue for us at this point.
Yeah.
And we beat up on Robbie Ray yesterday. I don't think the Giants can compete with the Dodgers. Now, look, any given 3-game series, anything can happen. But I would feel really good going into a series against the Giants. Going into a series against the Mets, David Peterson has like kind of owned us. They just, the Juan Soto factor, the Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor in the middle of the lineup, like, it's a more intimidating team than the Giants, right?
Yeah.
We'd be favored in either one of those 3-game series, but we've played the Giants better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's certainly true. That is certainly true. The Mets are, listen, the Mets and we've had this conversation, especially since the All-Star break, right? The Mets pitching has just been bad since the All-Star break. They came out of the gates with their pitching staff ridiculously hot, right? And they had even gotten to a point where you and I were kind of starting to believe it a little bit. Like, we weren't fully bought in.
Yeah.
But we were just like, all right, it's July and they're still kind of doing it. Like, they really hadn't fallen off a cliff yet. Little did we know that this late into the year, that September and late August would be their death month. Yeah, that really is the thing that is killing them right now. And they're playing, they're kind of, in the last couple of weeks, they've been just playing down to their competition. They just lost 2 out of 3 to the Rangers. They got swept in a 4-game series against the Phillies. I really thought this division race was going to be closer. The Phillies have a 12-game lead in the division. And even if we never thought, or I shouldn't even say never, but even if we never really took into consideration the Mets could win the division, because they can't. But that just separation, when I saw it, was astonishing to me. I was expecting 6.5 games or something. 12 games. Like, that's the difference between the Blue Jays and the Rays.
Yeah.
Like that is so bizarre.
The Mets are closer in standings to the Marlins than they are to the Phillies.
I know. Well, like I said, the Mets are 77 and 73. They're
the
almost
Mets are closer in standings to the Braves than the Phillies right now.
Yeah. How crazy?
Them finishing the season at 500 is not guaranteed at this point.
So okay. So let's pretend for a second that the Mets do make the postseason, because I'll follow this. We'll kind of wrap this conversation up with 2 questions here. If the Mets do make the postseason, are we at all confident in their ability to win games? Like are they just, because kind of like I said earlier in the show, the way that I feel about them right now is they are a full step at least a full step below the Padres, below the Dodgers, below the Cubs. Like, I think they're below those teams.
I do too, but it's just baseball, man. Like the problem is that, I mean, you could throw the Pirates in the postseason and ask me if I think they have a chance to win a 3-game series, and I'm going to say yes. You know what I mean? So,
well, yeah,
to that extent, there's always a shot. But look, the positive spin on it for the Mets is you get into a short series, and David Peterson has been good, and maybe this Nolan McLean thing is legit, right? Maybe you get some good starts out of Clay Holmes, and maybe you make it work, right? Because I mean, look, the bullpen is relatively deep, at least with talent. You know, they've got some guys that have underperformed. Ryan Helsley, obviously chief among those names, but if you can get the ball to Diaz and that offense, I mean, look, you're still looking at Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto in the middle of that lineup, right? Like, and the rest of it, it's not bad. There's still plenty on the shelf there. It's not like this is, you know what I mean? Like, they are underperforming what I think they should be. So if you give them the, hey, let's wipe the slate clean and head into a playoff series at 0 where nobody thinks you can beat the Dodgers, sure, they totally could. Do I think that they can go on like a World Series run? That's where I doubt it, just because I don't think, like, I think their pitching can win them a 3-game series. I think their pitching can sneak them through a 5-game series, maybe. I don't think their pitching can survive 2 7-game series in a row.
So you still think it's kind of possible that they could go to an NLCS with this?
Sure. Oh, totally. Look, Mike, again, like, I want to make sure we're using our words right, because like, I think it's possible. I think it's probable. No, right? Like, I think they're going to be, like, if they get in, they're going to be a clear underdog to the Dodgers or the Padres, probably the Dodgers at this point.
Yeah.
In a 3-game wild card series, they're going to be a clear and deserved underdog going on the road out west to play that series.
Right.
But it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Mets won that series. I mean, Mets Dodgers this year. Let me look it up, because I'm pretty sure they've taken the season series from the Dodgers. Like, they've played us well. Give me just a second. I'll be able to pull those games up.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I just, again, like, and I understand where you're coming from the sense of just like, yeah, it's playoff baseball. Like, it's certainly, you know, once you're in, you can, you know, everything is kind of up in the air in that sense. But, just as far as like how equipped they are to, I mean, I want to point something out too. Like, I think we're kind of underestimating how badly they needed Ryan Helsley to be good. Like, they really needed Ryan Helsley to step up in that bullpen, because that rotation is not going to take them deep into games. And a postseason run for the Mets, to me, looks like a lot of 6-out Edwin Diaz saves.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it looks like to me. Ryan Helsley, as of right now, is not a pitchable arm in the postseason. He's just not, right? He has been dreadfully bad for the Mets. He's been their worst bullpen guy since they acquired him. So that bullpen is not, based on performance right now, it's not deep. It's not deep, right? I mean, and they invested in trying to get guys that can, you know, impact winning for them. I mean, they gave up a ton to get Tyler Rogers, and they gave up a good amount to get Ryan Helsley, like I said. But it still feels like you have to get from a 4 1/3 Sean Manaea start to Edwin Diaz in the 8th and 9th virtually every game.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything with the Mets right now is theoretical, right? Like,
sure.
Like, in a world where Helsley, Reed Garrett, Gregory Soto, you know, in a world where all of these guys are throwing strikes and clicking and getting outs,
it's very deep.
That team, like, because those are talented guys I'm naming, right? I mean, those aren't
of course, yeah.
You know, but the problem for the Mets is that theoretical world that they have been dreaming about hasn't existed yet.
Right.
You know, and I mean, look, over the last 2 years, we've got just as much sample size of them being an average to below average team as we do of them being a good team, right? We had the second half of last year in the playoffs of them looking good. First few months of this year of them looking good. But the beginning of last year and the second half of this year, they haven't, like, to me, this 77 and 73 is just as much who they are as who they were down the stretch last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slightly above average team.
Yeah, it's a very roller coaster-ish kind of environment in Queens. Let's close out the topic with this. If you were to make a prediction today, are the Mets in or are they out 2 weeks from now?
Mike, I'm going to say out.
Wow.
And the reason I think that is I think the Padres are going to be a thorn in their side this week.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way I see this going is I think the Padres are going to I think the Padres win tomorrow. I think they win Wednesday. They might win Thursday. And let's even say they win 2 out of 3 and San Francisco takes 2 out of 3 in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, the Giants at that point are a half a game behind them. I would not be surprised at all to see the Dodgers come into LA and split that 4-game series. But let's say they get one game. They go 1-3, and let's say the Mets go 2-1. At that point, you are what, a game and a half or 2 games out?
2 games.
2 games out. To me, that's a worst case scenario right there for the Giants. The Giants then come home and play a flailing, not very good St. Louis team in Colorado. To me, the Giants going 5-1 that week is kind of my expectation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And the Mets going 3-3 against at Chicago and at Marlins is kind of my expectation.
So the thing that gives me trouble is that I think it is totally possible that the Giants lose almost all of their ground when they go to Los Angeles.
I mean, that's the biggest. I mean, look, from a Giants perspective, right? We've talked about this ad nauseum from a Mets perspective. From a Giants perspective, that is the biggest series of your season by far, far, far and away.
Not even close.
Like, they have to have those games. The problem for the Giants is that the Dodgers kind of need to have those games too. And so you're not going to get, you're going to get the Dodgers best in those games. So, yeah. But, look, the Giants have a way of just dragging the Dodgers into the mud and playing these like 2-1, 3-2 games where they just happen to come up with the big hit late. I'm telling you, we don't sweep them all that often. They just give us a little trouble.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like that's the boogeyman for the Giants. If I told you right now the Giants are going to go into LA and split that series 2-2, you think they're in the playoffs, right? If they do that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
that's going to be the key.
I will be the opposite force in this. You say out. I will say the Mets are in, very, very barely in. And a lot of that is just because I want to play the other side here.
Yeah.
But, listen, that my reason for that though is legit in the sense that the Giants could really tumble again in a 4-game series against the Dodgers, against a Dodgers team that is not playing that series half-assed because they need those games too.
Mike, so, we need to talk about one more thing though too when it comes to the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk a little bit about the Diamondbacks. Because I get it. It's the Giants who are a game and a half out. But the Diamondbacks are only 2 games out.
Yeah.
Right? And let's say Arizona, because those 2 teams play each other the next 3 nights.
Yeah.
If Arizona, because they're at home, if Arizona at home can stick it to the Giants,
right,
they become the team the Mets have to watch. Now, the problem for Arizona, and the reason we like the Giants better, is after that, Arizona hosts the Phillies and the Dodgers and goes to San Diego. So they get no breaks.
Oh, my God.
It's a brutal finish.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Like they finished Giants, Phillies, Dodgers, Padres. So brutal for them. But I just had to throw their name in there, right? Because they are technically still kind of right there.
How frightening is that? I mean, they gave up everything at the deadline.
Yeah.
And they're still here. I mean, like, again, they're 500. They're 75-75. But
I mean, look, Arizona came into this season. We talked glowingly about them preseason because it's a pretty deep organization talent wise. Like they've built something pretty solid and sustainable there.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to wonder what if they didn't sell. Like,
you think the Reds still have a puncher's chance here?
I mean, let's pull up the Reds schedule. Because I mean, look, at this point,
2.5 out. They're 2.5 out. They've got three in St. Louis, 4 at home against the Cubs, 3 at home against the Pirates, and then they finish the season on the road against Milwaukee.
Yeah, so here's my problem with the Reds. They have had so many chances to be that team.
Yeah.
Where it's been like, oh man, here come the Reds. Look at this. They've got a shot.
Yeah.
And then they go get swept in Sacramento this weekend. And it's just hard for me when you're staring down the barrel of like, because think about it this way, Mike. If they had won 2 out of 3 in Sacramento, they're tied with the Mets right now.
Right.
Instead, they get swept. Now, look, they're up 3-1 right now in St. Louis. That's a huge game, right? If they can win, like,
they got to take care of business in that series, really, to have a shot here.
They have to, and then they're going to have to at least split the 4 with the Cubs, and then they got to sweep the Pirates and hope that the Brewers don't care that last weekend, which the Brewers might not care that last weekend.
Yeah, right. So, I don't know. We'll see, man. It's going to be a very exciting race, and we're going to have a lot more clarity, I think, come next Monday when we're here again. But man, oh man, it's going to be really something. Okay.
Let's Mike, let's do Tristan a favor and just address the Guardians for a minute here. Because
let's take a look here.
Look, I think that I'll say this for the Guardians, right? What they need, and it's the same thing Texas needs.
Yeah.
Is okay. So Tristan, the reason the road's tough for Cleveland right now is they kind of have this smorgasbord of AL West teams that are all playing each other that are ahead of them. You've got the Rangers playing the Astros right now. So here's the thing. Let's say the Rangers sweep that series. You're still looking up at both of those teams.
Yeah.
And then the Astros play the Mariners. So realistically, I think the Guardians' path, it's a lot more complicated than you'd like for it to be. Like, they need very specific results to happen. They probably need Houston to maybe take 2 out of 3 from the Rangers, and then Houston to get beat up by Seattle and have Seattle build a lead and kind of bump Houston down. And then they need Texas to just lose and lose and lose. Look, the good thing for the Guardians is that they have 4 games in Minnesota this weekend, and they get 3 shots at the Rangers to end the season. Like, that's the good news. The bad news is you also have 6 games with a Tigers team that seems to still be playing decent baseball. So really, I'm going to say this. Guardians, if they get in, this is what it's going to look like. You sweep the 4 in Minnesota, and you win at least 2 in every other series. Then you've got a shot. If you go not, what would that be? 9-3? That'd be 10-3. You got to go 10-3 to give yourself a shot, and then you need a few things to break your way. That's all I'll say it.
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly is a tough road. Listen, the Red Sox, I mean, I'd be stunned if I would be really surprised now, right? If the AL playoff picture looks different than it does now in 2 weeks. Like, I feel pretty good about the 6 teams that are in the American League playoff picture right now. I feel pretty good that those are going to be the 6 teams that we see. Like, I don't know how I feel about the Rangers. I'm sorry, Tristan. I don't know how I feel about Cleveland. Boston has 3 at home against the A's. Then they go to Tampa, go to Toronto, and then they play the Tigers at home. So the Red Sox do not have an easy schedule either. There is an opening but the Guardians need to play, like you said, excruciatingly well for the next 2 weeks, and then they need some more. Like they really need the Red Sox to kind of fall apart. They need somebody in the AL West to fall out. Like they need something like that to go their way.
Yeah, basically what it comes down to for the Gardos is the problem for them. Well, look, okay, so here's the positive spin. They play Texas at the end of the season. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you sweep that series with Texas, right? If you assume a sweep there, because that's part of what it's going to take if you're going to get in, right? So you have to kind of assume a sweep there. If you assume a sweep in Texas, that puts you in as the first team out, right?
Yeah.
At that point, if you're the Guards and you go, let's say 12-1, 11-2, at that point, all you would need is one of Houston, Boston, or Seattle to just have a horrible 2 weeks.
Just bottom out. Yeah. Yeah.
So
right.
That could happen. I mean, like if the Gardos finish hot and let's say the Astros fall off a cliff and go 4-8, you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul Schwartzoff chiming in again. I think Cleveland's only chance would be for the Tigers to collapse and win the division. And that's not saying much either. The Tigers right now have a 6.5 game lead.
Yeah.
In AL Central. I can't see that happening.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that thought. I mean, I guess having 6 games in hand with Detroit makes that intriguing,
right.
I guess.
I mean, listen, you sweep Detroit and it becomes, right? You win every game against the Tigers.
That's the thing. Right? Yeah, if you sweep those 6 games against Detroit and then you're only a half game behind them and the rest of your games are 4 with the Twins and then 3 with the Rangers. Listen, if the Guardians sweep Detroit, I think the Guardians win the division. I don't think the Guardians sweep Detroit.
I think if the Guardians, I'll even do you one better. I think if the Guardians make the playoffs, honestly, I think we need to get Tristan on the air.
Yeah.
I think that's got to happen.
Yeah.
I think if the Guardians make the playoffs, I think Tristan needs to come on as a guest, without a doubt.
100%.
All right. Again, pardon me for my coughing. Let's give you another score update before we head into the hot corner. Twins with a 2-0 lead over the Yankees in Minnesota. They're in the top of the 6th. Who is dealing against them, right? Is it Simeon Woods Richardson? 2 hits, none earned in 5 1/3 with 9 strikeouts. He is dealing against the Yankees right now. Of course he is. Ay. And Carlos Rodon has not been bad. 5 innings, 2 earned, 5 hits, whatever. But Simeon Woods Richardson dealing against the Yankees. That feels really good. Cubs and Pirates. Cubs still with a 4-0 lead over Pittsburgh. That is in Pittsburgh. They're in the bottom of the 8th. Braves with an 8-2 lead over the Nationals in Washington. They're in the bottom of the 8th. Blue Jays, Tampa Bay Rays right now with a 1-0 lead over Toronto. That's in Tampa. They're in the top of the 7th. Trey Yesavage has had 9 strikeouts in his debut today. That's a Blue Jays record, by the way. That's a Blue Jays franchise record.
That's impressive.
Orioles and White Sox, again, game of the night. Top of the 5th. They're tied at 1 in Chicago. Reds right now with a 3-1 lead over the Cardinals. They're in the bottom of the 6th. That's in St. Louis. Astros still 2-0 over the Rangers in Houston. That is in, they're heading into the top of the 5th. Giants and Diamondbacks in Arizona tonight. Kaiwei Tang and Zach Gallen on the bump for that. Again, that's a huge playoff implication series. So if you have a way to watch those games, watch those games. That's going to be playoff environment sort of baseball. But that's in Arizona. And then the Phillies and Dodgers tonight in Los Angeles. That is Ranger Suarez and Anthony Bond on the bump for the Dodgers. All right, Dalton. One of the last times that you're going to be able to do this season is the is Dalton's hot corner. What do you have for us tonight?
It's funny you say that because actually, when we get into the playoffs, I'm going to be a little bit more cocksure with my betting than I am right now. Betting baseball in September can be challenging, but look, I found it on DraftKings. It should be available most places at a similar number. I'm not betting on a game. I'm betting on a series. You can bet on who's going to win the Mets-Padres series this week at DraftKings, and the Mets are a slight favorite there right now.
Wow.
I disagree with that. It's close to even money, but the Mets are slightly favored. You can get the Padres at minus 110 to win that series, meaning take 2 out of 3. They're going to have the pitching advantage in all 3 games. So, look, for me, Padres series winner over the Mets minus 110. That's the bet for this week.
Cocksure. What a word. Oh, boy. That's funny. I look forward to that. By the way, before we close, guess what I did this weekend?
What'd you do this weekend? Oh, God. That's one segment. I mean, look, if you want to do a Savannah Banana segment after I sign off, that's fine.
You are not a banana guy, huh?
Not a banana guy. I'm just, to me, it just gives voice to too many people who actually don't like baseball.
Interesting.
I have such a bad taste in my mouth with it also because ESPN has been showing banana games on TV when there are legitimate MLB games going on. And I think it's a slap in the face to the sport. And look, I get that it's fun and blah, 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 whatever. To me, it's one of those things that the people who get really into the Savannah Bananas love to go to those games and sit there and be like, this is why baseball isn't good because it's not as fun as this. And it's like, what you're watching is theater. You're watching a play about baseball.
Yeah, it's true.
Stop.
That's true.
And hey, if people are into that, that's fine. More power to them. I can't stand it. I really can't. I don't know.
So I'll give you my honest thoughts real quick, and then we'll get out of here. But so I went yesterday afternoon. My wife and I went, and it was at Yankee Stadium. And listen, the way they do it up, right, is it's very showy. It is very, very showy. They've got tents upon tents upon tents outside of the stadium. When you walk in, there's already this is an hour before the game. There's already stuff happening on the field. The complaint that I have, and I'm not totally against banana ball, but I will say I don't ever need to go again. And it was very, very hard to actually watch the game. If I was going to, you don't go to a banana ball game if you want to watch baseball, right? If you want to watch baseball, you go to a real baseball game. This was like you said, it's very theaterish. They are playing a game, but they're still they still are doing crowd interaction stuff while the game is going on. So everything happens so fast. The big video jumbotron at Yankee Stadium in center field, it doesn't have the score of every inning. It doesn't have the count. It doesn't have any of that. It's a big video board that zooms in on what's ever happening in the crowd, what is, the trick play that's happening on the field. And then you have these other little spots where you can see the count and how many outs there are and everything. I found myself thinking it's too fast. It's actually too fast. I can't keep track of the game enough for me to just not think that I'm my wife thought she was going to love it, but she's just came away from it. She's like, I'm overstimulated. There's just too much going on at once. So it's cool. I mean, experience once. I don't need to go again.
Yeah, that's part of what's unattractive about it to me. Is it's basically like one of the problems that I have, and you've heard me espouse this view a few different ways,
Yeah.
is like baseball is doing way too much to cater to people who have no attention span.
Right. Yeah, right.
And to me, the Savannah Bananas are that, like, to the most extreme degree, in a way that I'm like, this is designed for people who actively dislike baseball.
Yeah. It is
Like,
the iPad kid of baseball.
exactly. And the fact that it's getting mainstream run on ESPN is insulting. Like, I think it's a total slap in the face to baseball. I'm not into it. Like, I actively avoid it. I can't say enough about how much I don't like it.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, that's true too. But by the way, the tickets are ridiculous.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. Is it's like
It's not cheap.
it's not like you're offering some product that's cheaper or easy or more accessible. It's
No, it's hundreds of dollars for a ticket.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds. Okay. That does it for us. We close with a banana segment. That's not where I expected this to go. By
Never
the way.
again, especially not in a pennant race, Mike. Shame.
Well, listen, it's what I did this weekend. So I showed the hat, whatever.
Well, shame on you. Okay.
Clearly I'm a casual. So,
Well, you acted like one this weekend, and I can't stand for it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right, let's close it out. That's Dalton Brown. I'm Mike Guido. This is the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast on the Grid Network every Monday, 8:00 Eastern. Make sure you tune in to all of our Grid programming on the Grid YouTube channel. Make sure you check all that out. We will see you next week.